All right, so hi, this is Deon, and this is my third interview ever. And today with me, I have Shante Haymore Kearney, a friend of mine. She's a mother, a teacher, a leader who guides people to live mindfully every day. And I welcome you, and I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you for taking the time to just talk to me.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much. I love that you're doing this. And as I've said to you many times, I love the name of your podcast.
Oh, which I didn't even say.
Okay.
It's called
So,
My Friends Are Smart.
I love it. So I'm happy to be one of your smart friends.
Thank you. I'm happy to have smart friends because how else am I going to learn stuff?
Totally.
All right. Well, my first question for you is actually just, will you please explain mindfully, to live mindfully in this world, to live mindfully every day? This is something that I know that you teach. So can we just talk about that for a second?
Yeah, so I really believe from my own experience that mindfulness and having it be like a guiding light in how you move through your day is one of the healthiest and most practical and powerful ways to be in this world. And for me, mindfulness is really all about taking the time um, to observe yourself, to taking the time to stop and to be thoughtful in how you respond and how you react. And also knowing that, I think, like knowing that we are one small part of this bigger puzzle and that our actions, our thoughts, our words really impact other people. And so when we come from that space, then we know that like our influence is bigger than what we think it is as just this small individual I. So it's like thinking as your bigger self and bringing that into the world to affect other people in a positive way.
Wow. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
So it's like every small thing that we do, we have no idea how much it's going to affect something else.
Absolutely, and everything has a ripple effect, or the butterfly effect, and we're seeing that so much now more than ever. That the things that happen across the world affect affect us over here in the United States, and in so many different arenas, we see that continue to play out over and over and over again.
Right. Can you tell us more about, or tell me more about just what you said about what's happened in other countries or something, and now it's affecting the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, I think the coronavirus is just a perfect example of that. It started, well, they say that it started over in China, and I think when we think of ourselves as living in a silo, we may feel like, oh, it's all the way over there. That problem is happening to them. We see division and separation as if we're not all one people, or as if like we forget that we're all like just living on the same planet, and and the boundaries and the boundaries that we put in place, like for countries, for states, for different continents, it's all like a false illusion. Like this is the only planet that we have. So what happens over there, yes, that might be their initial problem or issue. I say that with air quotes for those who can't see. But we learn and see that we're all connected. There's this interconnectedness from between all of us, and so now we are experiencing some of those same issues, if not just as bad, if not worse than other countries have seen. And I think that's just a great example of how what happens over there is happening here. What happens with quote them can and will happen to us. So like there is no them and us. It's just,
Right. There is no them and us. And yeah, I would just want to pipe in that I have also heard that the coronavirus came from China, and it was a virus that was normal in animals, but somehow somebody ate a bat and the meat was bad, and then that came into their body. So yes, I believe that that was maybe a mindfulness mistake in certain ways. Either it's from, I don't know, the meat sitting there too much, or maybe we shouldn't be eating bats, or whatever it is. There seems to be a misuse of the mind and making a choice there. So just wanted to put that out there.
Absolutely.
And also, you know, I've been, we know each other from Unity on the Bay in Miami. So that's where I met you. And we share such a beautiful spirituality of love and unity. Um, and so speaking about humankind, it almost feels like making sure that everybody knows that we are one feels a little bit too small for me even still, because we are one with the planet. So not only are we not just one with each other and people that aren't like us, but we're one with the earth, the animals, the water, the good, the bad. Like it just, everything kind of pulls itself into that oneness, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I just actually finished my first small group, my online group course called Metamorphosis. And it really is about journeying through challenging times but still having self-growth and transformation. But the crux of that was really this relationship that we have to nature, and using the journey of the caterpillar and the metamorphosis of the caterpillar to mirror our own lives. Because we forget that the things that happen in nature, winter, summer, spring, fall, how things are born, how they live, grow, and then die, and then come back around. That happens to each one of us in our own lives, in our own way. And so I think it's really important to remember that we are a part of nature. We are natural beings. We're going through these same cycles, and not only is it normal, but it's natural, and it's healthy too. Like, it's healthy to let things die. It's healthy to let things be born again. It's healthy to grow and expand. And it's not only is it healthy, but it's inevitable. It's necessary. And that's one thing that the pandemic has really brought to me. Like, this is a time where globally we have to let things go. We have to let things shift. It's happening, and it will continue to happen as long as the earth is here. We're just in this moment of time together on this planet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. And especially just being able to think of ourselves as a butterfly, like what a beautiful image that is, just to give that to us as a little gift. So can you tell me more about Metamorphosis? Is that over? Is it an online thing?
Great question. So it is over for right now, but it is an online program that will run again. It's a live online course for right now, because it's really an intimate experience for 4 weeks. We meet 2 to 3 times a week, and really using, like I said, our own lives as a reflection for the journey of the caterpillar, and looking to see in each week, like, where we can grab onto different spiritual tools and practices that reflect and support the journey that we all are on. So from breath work to yoga to meditation, and really just like that, to me, that's what mindful living is. It's about like gathering our spiritual toolbox and then using those tools at the right time, when we need to anchor ourselves, when we need to ground ourselves, when we need to be more altruistic and give, or sometimes when we need to be more open to receive as well. So, yeah.
I love that.
And I will be running it again, probably in the fall. So,
All right.
yeah,
So
it was amazing.
I'll make sure that we can make sure whoever wants to take it will be able to find that information.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, and talking about a spiritual toolbox, I just want to take a nice deep breath right now, because I've been a little bit nervous. I'm not used to being in front of the camera talking like this. So I'm just going to give myself a nice, like, and it feels better. I was feeling like a little tight in the chest. So
I always feel it in my belly when I'm talking, and I have to remind myself, like loosen up, just relax, and just be. There's no wrong way to be you. There's no wrong way to be me. So thank you for that moment.
Thank you. And I actually had a question for you, just to maybe choose one of your tools that you've learned in either your gratitude training or other trainings, or in yoga, a concept that you can share with us that has helped you through this time, the virus, or even just in life in general. If you just would choose one to let us kind of simmer on.
I actually just posted about it last night on the Brown Goddess Collective Instagram page. So I have two Instagram pages. Brown Goddess Collective is, we'll talk more about that. But for me, this is a tool, but it's also a perspective and a frame of mind. And I've learned this a lot from gratitude training, which is a leadership development course, but also through Unity too. When times, in any moment, but especially when times are tough, I think asking the question of what is this lesson here for me to learn? Like, what is this moment? What is this challenge? What is this gift here to teach me? Because we forget also that, like, we're still learning and growing and evolving, even though we're adults. It's very easy to see in a child, right? And I have a 4-year-old son, so I get to see him go through the learning process on a regular basis. Every single moment of the day, he's learning, and it's very obvious. But as we become further away from that childlike energy,
I'm sorry, hold on one second.
no problem.
I forgot to put my phone on airplane mode. Sorry. So tell me about the learning and being able to see a child learn is very apparent to us because we can watch it, because supposedly adults know better than children, and we're here to teach them. And sometimes they're here to teach us, but we can see them learning and making mistakes and growing from that.
Absolutely. And I think when we're in the midst of an opportunity, even if it's one that's challenging, or like I said, in the midst of a blessing, like taking that 50,000 foot look and seeing, like, and asking, what is this here to teach me? Where am I here to grow? And then through that, you can bring gratitude. So gratitude is one of the biggest tools and anchors that I use and that I've learned to be able to say thank you in the moment. Because you know that, like, this moment, even in the challenge, is a gift, and is only also a particular, like, sliver of moment and time. So, like, this is gonna pass. We don't know how long it's gonna last for, but we do know that things won't always be like this. And this can represent the virus, it can represent, like, this movement, it can represent, you know, a job, a relationship, an illness, you know, insert whatever circumstance here. And just being able to kind of, like, rise above the clouds and, like, see that there's a bigger picture going on at play really gives people a lot of comfort to know, like, I'm going to be okay. And in this moment, I'm going to choose to be grateful, and grateful regardless of circumstances.
Wow. Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, sometimes it's really hard to find something to be grateful for, and just the knowledge of knowing that everything is temporary and it's not going to stay this way. If that's where you have to start, then that is a very powerful place to be, and you can find gratitude in that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's like a great, like, shift of perspective, and perspective is everything. So once you can shift your perspective to opening up, like, in a light-filled or more gratitude or heart-centered way, then you can take action that follows on that path as well.
Okay, I love it. Talking about action. What do you think is the most important thing for us to focus on right now, and how can we take action to do so?
I've been thinking a lot about that because there's so much action being taken, right? We're in the middle of another wave of Black Lives Matter protest and movement, and rightfully so. And there's a lot of action that's being taken that you can see on a visible plane. Like, you see people with the signs, and you see people pounding the pavement. And I think one thing that's really important to know is that action looks a variety of ways. You know, we need people, for example, in this example, we need people out there on the front lines, but we also need people in the back office, you know, on the administrative side, on the in the commissioners meetings, like, all those different places. And so for me, what I've been telling myself and telling other people is, like, and what I do personally is, like, I sit and I ask myself, like, what is my action? Like, what is mine to do? Because the way that I take action is going to be different than the way that you take action, or my husband, or members of my family. And like, there's no wrong way. And I think what everyone can do right now is to like really be honest with themselves, and put the judgment aside of like, what is the best thing that that individual can do right now in this moment. And let's be honest, like, we're in the middle of a couple of global traumas right now. Like, global crisis is happening like right now. And what we know about response to trauma is that when trauma or crisis happens, the responses are fight, flight, or freeze. And it's okay if you're in either one of those categories right now. Like, for example, I like to kind of sit and mindfully think about what my stance is, not my stance, but what my words are going to be before I speak.
Oh.
Other people just like to like get out there and just like, and that's okay too. But I like to like, so I've noticed that I'll almost kind of like retreat a little bit because my heart is so sensitive, and my feelings like get hurt so easily, and it just really affects me internally. So I have to kind of sit back, let things simmer and marinate before I move forward and take action and speak up. And that doesn't make me less of a social activist than someone who's like out there from day one, you know?
Well, yes, I mean, that supports exactly what you were saying about being mindful. You know, you're sitting, you're reflecting, and you're thinking how best you can make a difference or take action.
Yeah, and I thank you. And also, like, this is a marathon that we're in too. So it's for sustainable growth. For me, I think it's also important to have those mindful moments. And it's great for people to jump into action immediately.
Yes.
And it's also great to have people along every step of the way for the whole 26.2 miles of the marathon or whatever it is. I've never ran a marathon. No plans of ever doing that in my whole entire life. But
never say never.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's not my intention though, but yeah, so it's important to also just kind of see for yourself, like, where do you stand on the spectrum, and like, where do you fit in? And it's okay if you fit in towards the end and you run the anchor leg, and it's also okay if you're at the beginning of the starting line too.
Yes. Yes. Wow.
Because I think there's a lot of judgment. I feel like there's a lot of judgment. Like, if you don't put your stance out there right away, then people are quick to judge, like, oh, well, then if you're not with us, then you're against us. It's like, well, I think that also people get to have the time to process, where they're at and how they want to speak up and how they want to take action. I think that's appropriate also.
Yes, because like you're saying, we're all individuals and we all react differently and have to honor what's inside of us. So, and we all take action in different ways. So it's a really nice thing to maybe not jump on top of somebody who's not acting as quickly as you or doing what you would want them to do, because we're all processing this together. Well, individually and together.
Yeah, exactly. And today, as I was watching the news, and I've been so one thing that I think everyone can do in their own way, and it's super important, is to be as informed as possible. Informed, educate yourself, because I think it's important that we also think for ourselves too. And that was the message that's been coming up for me today in particular, is like, think for yourself. It's okay to jump on a bandwagon. Like, I love bandwagons, but I'm a late adapter in terms of a lot of things. Like, I was raised to like think for myself, make informed decisions, and to be a leader. And and so I think that's important for people to do in this time too. Like, yes, we want change, but just be mindful of the bandwagons that you're jumping on and the reasons why, and be informed when you do it.
I love that. I love that you like bandwagons. I'm not quite sure what they are, but I get the idea. And yes, because, you know, when people get inspired, they want to do something and they want to help out. But the first thing that you hear, it might not be the best thing. It might be misguided 1% away from the real cause that needs to be addressed. And if you're going 1% away from your goal, you're not reaching it, right? So
Mhm.
you
And also give yourself permission to change your mind. Like,
oh, I love
um,
that.
to change your opinion, to change your mind, to change and pivot course of action as well too. So I think that's important. Also, like, be forgiving with yourself as you move forward.
Yeah.
You have the right to change your mind.
Yes, you have the right to change your mind. So, can you tell me a little bit about what your world looks like right now? You have your, is he 5 or 6?
He's 4.5.
Oh, I was jumping the gun.
Well,
Okay.
he looks like he's 6, so that's. I mean, he's so tall. So
Well,
it's
you
no.
guys are both very tall, I must say.
Yeah, this is no surprise. We are ready for this, I guess. Yeah.
And so now we're in the summertime. And what does it look like? What's going on?
So, we've been sheltered in place since, like many other people, millions of other people, since March, and we slowly are starting to integrate back into society. Evan started back his summer camp program at his regular school. Um, Speaking of being informed, I am on the parent committee at his school, and I'm also on the policy council for Miami-Dade County Head Start. Um,
Wow. I
yeah,
didn't
I know.
know that.
It's wild. So what's great about that is that I got to hear firsthand, and before the information was released, about what their COVID policies and procedures were going to be, and how the steps that they're taking to minimize risk. And I just felt, with the trust that I have for his school, and just learning about the policies, I felt like they're doing everything that they can to minimize as much risk as possible. So this is the best testing ground to get back out there and to integrate. I'm not liberal. I mean, I'm not conservative about most things, but I have been very conservative about our approach to the COVID-19 and taking safety precautions and things like that. So we're still, like, we're still those people wearing our masks and, sanitizing like crazy. I just can't stop buying hand sanitizer. Every time I see something, I grab it. I'm like, why? That and soap. Um, but yeah, so, but how my world also looks is, I constantly face this reality that many Black and brown moms face about what it's like raising their child, let alone a son, in this world. And, I'm faced with those thoughts and that narrative in my head, sometimes at the forefront of my head, sometimes in the back of my mind,
Yeah.
every single day. I'm blessed to live in a historically Black neighborhood here in Miami, that my family has been a part of for, I think I'm 4th or 5th generation here in Coconut Grove. And so I get to I see a lot of different parts of our society. I see the society of the disenfranchised and like lower income, but I also like grew up going to some of the best private schools here in the Coconut Grove area. And I work in a nonprofit corporate setting. And so it's kind of always this like mix of duality, like how to balance both experiences, all experiences, for like a very complete and a complete and like healthy life, holistic life. And luckily, having grown up in this neighborhood, I feel like I've got a lot of tools to navigate both sides of the fence. And yet, I'm not exempt from the fear that, other people that we face as black folks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think which question. I have two that I want to ask kind of concerning that. I guess, okay, so Me being, I guess, new to this conversation as a white girl who never really paid attention much, um, and knowing that there are Black people that are coming together and have been for a very long time because they've been aware of this problem. How are the Black people dealing with other minorities? And maybe we can speak about just Miami because that's where we are. But there's a lot of Cubans here, Mexicans, all the different people, the minorities. Are you guys feeling that there's a coming together through this also?
So I think so, yes. One of the things that being in a city like Miami is unique because Miami is a minority majority city, meaning that like most of Miami is not white, Anglo-Saxon white, like how most countries in the United States are. Most Miami is largely Hispanic, right? And so what we've been seeing though is that Black and brown people are disproportionately affected by all types of these social issues, be it food insecurities, police brutality, low income wages, unsafe housing or housing insecurities and things of that nature.
Right. Can I interrupt you for a second? Just this is a minor way that I'm understanding it now. So it's not about the fact that there's not things going on that are wrong. Let's say that a white boy and a Black boy steal a candy bar. And it's not to say, oh, he didn't do it. It's to say what is going on after they get caught. So what is going to happen to the white boy versus the Black boy? And this is what we're trying to bring out, is that it's different. And it's not that they're not doing something wrong. It's that they're caught and then what's happening afterwards.
Absolutely. And we see it in our school system. Black and brown boys and girls are more likely to be punished by suspension, expulsion to their white counterparts
Yes.
for the same rule breaking, right? So absolutely. Kids, people, we all make mistakes, but it's the way that the system punishes based on the color and gender of people. So the different intersections really do matter, right? So absolutely, the white kid who steals the candy bar is more likely to, just have the parents call, they pick him up, he gets a slap on the wrist, he gets the warning, the verbal warning, probably doesn't even get like taken down. It's a candy bar, right? But then there's been, real life stories of a Black kid who's stealing a candy bar from a convenience store and gets shot by the convenience store owner because there's that fear, right? There's people are operating from like old stories of the past, narratives in their head, and they operate from like that, from a lens of fear instead of like a lens of humanity.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Yes, the lens through which we're looking at the world, that is our perspective. That's what you were talking about earlier, to take it a little bit higher up, be above the clouds and look at a more expansive place, change your perspective so that you can see more of what's happening. Because if you think that you know everything and you think that you see everything, then you're not looking hard enough.
No, and one of the biggest mistakes is thinking that you know everything, because that means that you're not open to learning anything new.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you, what are you telling your little boy about what's going on, and how are you teaching him to deal with the structure that we are living under now, and knowing that there will be change and that action is being put forth to make everything feel a little bit more loving and a little bit more accepting. But I know that he's kind of in a scary world right now.
Mm-hmm. What I tell him right now is very age appropriate. And luckily, we don't have a lot of news exposure in our home. So we consciously don't watch the news very often in front of him, especially.
Okay.
We only have one TV in our house. We're not a multiple TV household or anything like that. So when we do watch the news, if there's clips of you know, black and brown men in court or with the police, and like having those types of encounters, we turn the channel. We just don't think that right now it's appropriate for him to be exposed to that level of trauma,
Okay.
especially without the capacity to understand. Now he has seen some of the protests and the signs, and he asked me like, what are people talking about, or I think he said like, what are they upset about? Because he's very sensitive to like yelling and noise and, you know, loud stuff. And I just said very simply, you know, people are upset because someone was really hurt because they were different. You know, so I keep it very neutral for right now. Like I said, he's 4.5. Typically, the changes in the way that black and brown kids are treated usually happens when they're like second grade, like 8, 9 years old. And so right now he also is in a school where he's with mostly black and brown kids. His teachers are mostly, you know, black. So he's in an environment where he gets to see a lot of positive peers and role models, thankfully. So right now we just kind of keep it at the basics of like, you know, celebrating other people's differences. Most of his friends are not black. His best friend is a little white blonde girl. I mean, she couldn't be more white if she tried. But her parents are super like woke and aware, and her mom is one of my teachers actually. And so they think that they're brother and sister. They just love each other dearly. And so for me, it's not only also about though how I teach and raise him, it's also about how my friends are teaching and educating their kids who are going to be growing up with him. Because I think it's important for them to also know that he will be looked at and treated differently for the same, like if he breaks the rules, if they break rules together, he will be treated likely differently than them. And I think that like being in conversation with my mom friends about this so that we're educating our kids together is really important to me.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't put it together that way.
Like when you say you didn't put it together that way, like what stands out to you that's different?
No, I think that I didn't put together that it's important to just be very sensitive and kind of grow up within a community that is agreeing on how to keep everyone safe and loved. It's not just one family's responsibility to teach their child correctly. It's being in a conversation with the people that are around you to make sure that everyone is on the same page, that is not spreading hate or intolerance of something that's different.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you. Because, you know, when they go to the playground and if someone starts to pick on him, like I want them to know why and be able to stand up and rally and support Evan. Just like if there's a kid in our group who's special needs, you know, like we need to know what vulnerabilities that child is going to face so that we can support that child, whether it be, you know, autism or, you know, a physical disability. Like I want Evan, my son, to know, like, you know, if this kid, your friend, has a physical disability, they're going to be looked at differently. And it's okay that they're different, but let's celebrate that. And let's also like be ready to like stand up and protect, be an upstander is what we call it, to stand up and to protect our friends. And because we're all different, you know, we're, you know, fast forward down the line, someone's going to come out as, you know, being homosexual or maybe transgender. Like we get to support them with that difference and that vulnerability. So yes, I think that like having that like common understanding amongst the adults that filters down to the kids is really important. I think that's something that we're missing too in our society as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for saying that.
Because a lot of people, if I may just continue to expand, a lot of people, and I hear this conversation shifting, and I'm so grateful for it, but there's been a lot of like, well, I don't see color, like I just see one race, and that mindset as well as beautiful and well-intentioned as it is, it actually puts the blinders on the fact that, well, but we are all different. And it's really important to know that, because our differences are what make us unique and beautiful and special. And they're also what can put us at a vulnerable situation. So if I have a Muslim family, in my community, like, I want to be able to honor and respect and recognize like the challenges that they face, just as like a Jewish Orthodox family. And so differences are important to be seen, and it's not something to ignore.
I love that. I love that so much, because people are saying, "Oh, I don't see color," and that almost feels like you're just not taking responsibility for anything. I see a lot of colors, and it makes a beautiful world to be able to see the color and to experience it and know the differences and see that they're all beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. We need it. We need every crayon in the box.
Yes, and more.
And more, yes.
Can you tell me something, Shante, about maybe a cultural thing that you have grown up with in your family or in your culture that you can share with me that maybe me as a white girl wouldn't know?
Ask me that question in a different way so I can make sure I'm understanding you.
Okay, I'm just wanting to learn about your culture. I'm wanting to learn some of the differences that can make me understand you guys more, maybe have a laugh. Maybe I'll be like, oh, well, this is what I do, or this is what I've learned. One easy one is like hair, like black hair is different than white hair. So you would have a completely different regimen than I would. But sometimes in families, there's superstitions, or there's just like, oh, my grandmother would do this. And I just want to know if there's anything you would want to share to start letting things be a little bit easier to talk about our differences, and that differences aren't bad.
Well, the thing that comes to mind for me is along the lines of spirituality and religion. And I come from a pretty religious family. I was raised as Southern Baptist. I was raised at Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church right here in Coconut Grove, which is the oldest Black church in the city in Miami-Dade County. And my grandmother's 91 years old. She's the eldest member of that church. And she's still the treasurer and this, Sunday school teacher and all that stuff. And while those roots that really, like, those Baptist roots are where I come from, I consider myself to be more spiritual than religious. I've been a member of Unity on the Bay, which is a Christian-based church, but it's really trans-denominational, like people of all faiths and colors and genders and sexual orientations worship there.
I know that they consider themselves a spiritual community, and I've never felt so welcome in any church as I did the moment I stepped into Unity.
It's a beautiful place. It's an absolutely beautiful place, and I couldn't agree more. And yet, my grandmother was one of the first people to introduce me to the Unity movement. She got me my first subscription for the Daily Word, their inspirational reading, when I was in college. She's like one of those, she'll just like sign you up, and like next thing you know, you're getting these books.
You're like, thanks, Grandma.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but even now that we've been sheltered in place, what I found so interesting and what I continue to learn about my family is that we're still so rooted in God and our belief in God. And while that may fluctuate and like vary from person to person, it's still based on the same foundation. And I think that that's so important. So now we've been having, ever since the quarantine started, we have Sunday Family Church every Sunday at 2:00 via Zoom. It's wild. I mean, we have like full on church service.
Wow.
It's really, I mean,
that you guys do yourself within your family.
Yep. It's really interesting. So like one, because we have a large family, so each family will be responsible for hosting it each week. And yeah, we put out a program together, like opening prayer, welcome. You know, we have a scripture, we have a service. Sometimes we have musical guests who come on and perform. It's really crazy. We'll have, you know, we have people who will bring on preachers and reverends to come and deliver the word and the message. We'll make a little graphic and send it out to everyone in the group chat. And we really do it for my grandmother because, you know, everything centers around her as the matriarch, and she, you know, loves her church. And but it really brings us together in such a really profound and spiritual way, like being able to pray together as a family. And as I've gone on my own spiritual path and I have my own family nucleus now, I don't think that I really realized, well, it's nice to remember how ingrained in faith in God and spirituality my core family is.
Mm.
So that's been something, and I gotta say, although that's not, I just really feel that Black folks and their spirituality and their religion has just, it really still runs so deep.
Yeah.
It runs so deep. And I saw the movie Harriet, about Harriet Tubman, last week, and how she freed the slaves. And again, that thread of like trusting in God and like spirituality and religion, and using that as a guiding post to free the slaves and to like trust her own intuition and to like really move forward in her purpose was a huge part of that, her experience and the results that she created. So I don't know, I hope that answers your question, but
It does.
that's something, yeah.
It does. It's wonderful. I mean, it's very inspiring to hear, and it makes me feel happy for you all that you have that in your family, because that brings people together and it's very unifying. Let me tell you what's happening in a lot of white families is that we're not agreeing on religion or politics or anything. So our families are, and I'm not talking for everybody, but a lot of what I'm hearing is that families are being divided. Families are fighting and quarreling and not able to even come together in the general sense of the word. And it's very sad because everybody feels separated and frustrated and like lost, I think. I love what you guys are able to do as a family because you bring everything together and you meet together and you make time for each other. I think making time for each other is huge. Just to share time and some beautiful, enlightened talk and, you know, just kind of lift your spirits all together.
It's been a really amazing experience. And I've also heard people express what you've shared too, and like my white counterparts. So it's interesting to hear from your perspective because yeah, we don't have that. We're all kind of on the same plane. You know, we all are, you know, we pretty much all vote the same. We all believe the same. We have very common, similar experiences. And so, yeah, it's interesting to hear what you've been.
Yes, not only is it that we within families don't vote the same, but it's become such a sore subject that people can't even talk about who they're voting for or why.
That sucks.
Yes.
Yeah. And you know, for me, I don't want people to judge me based on who I vote for or what I believe in. And I also don't want to judge other people for who they vote for or believe in. But yet I think the challenge is that, and I'll speak for myself, is that for me, it's about like what that candidate or what that policy represents. And so it's like, I think what people do is we link what that represents to the person who's voting. Like, well, then you must mean this too. Like, you must be
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know, like if you vote for this person, or if you believe in this policy, or if you don't stand up for this, then that automatically equates you to being, you know, whatever it represents to the other person. And I think having civil conversations is important, and learning how to talk about things that are challenging is important. And really being open to hearing a different perspective, like letting go of old beliefs is important too.
Can you please repeat that last thing you said?
Yeah, I said just also being open to like letting go of your old beliefs is also really important as well.
Thank you. Thank you,
And that
Shante.
goes for both sides of the fence, myself included.
Yes. I think always. I mean, I think if you hold on to old beliefs that aren't serving you or that are hurting other people, it's time to let those go, right? And
Yeah.
just to re-examine and
Mm-hmm.
sit with yourself and kind of feel what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the whole, I also getting back to like thinking for yourself too, like think for yourself, you know, like, is this really what I feel, or is this what I've been taught to feel and think my whole life? Is this
Yeah.
what's being like fed to me, this narrative?
Yeah. Well, I think that this is a nice place to stop. I'd love to hear more from you, and hopefully we will talk again when Rob and I are together.
Oh, great. I would love that. I would love that, because I know we had, um, we're, so some of the real life experiences, you know, like what I posted in terms of my drive up to, I just recently drove from Miami to Tallahassee, and
Yes.
what is like crossing over to central and northern Florida as a Black person.
Would you like to talk about that now?
Sure, we can touch on that just very quickly.
Yes, please.
Um, so, but because I think it also links to like our perception of people, and how what we have them represent. So, you know, and the narratives in our head. So when I'm driving and I see a cop car and the speed limit is 70 and I'm going 75, like I'm not like a fast driver. I drive like a mom, you know, like boring and just like, you know, do. But I get this like wave of fear, like this, oh shit, you know, um, because we've seen so many examples that it doesn't take much for things to go wrong, you know. And also, you know, as an educated Black woman, I think part of the fallacy is that these things only happen to people who are poor, who live in the ghetto, who like, you know, act a certain way. And what we've seen is that that's not true.